They told you to watch the magician's right hand. They told you to focus all your attention on the intruder we call 3I Atlas. They wrote papers, they held press conferences, and they argued about its shape and its speed. But while the entire scientific community was staring at one spot in the sky, they missed the rest of the board. In the game of chess, you do not lose because of the piece you see. You lose because of the piece you do not see. I am Avi Loeb, and today, I am not here to talk about a single object. I am here to talk about a strategy. We are witnessing a phenomenon that defies the laws of probability. We are witnessing a coordination of anomalies that suggests our solar system is not an empty room, but a theater of operations. And we, the inhabitants of Earth, are standing in the middle of the stage, blindfolded, while the actors take their positions around us. Let us look at the evidence that the establishment ignores. Everyone is talking about 3I Atlas. We know it is strange. We know it behaves like a hybrid between a comet and a machine. But 3I Atlas is not alone. While we were arguing about its trajectory, another player entered the game. We call it Comet C 2025 R2 Swan. To the untrained eye, to the dogma of the International Astronomical Union, these are just two separate dirty snowballs falling toward the sun. Random rocks, random orbits, coincidence. But I do not believe in this kind of coincidence. Let us look at the data. Both of these objects, 3I Atlas and R2 Swan, are exhibiting the exact same impossible behavior at the exact same time. The most bizarre characteristic of 3I Atlas is its sunward-facing tail. We call this an anti-tail. In standard cometary physics, the solar wind pushes gas and dust away from the sun. A tail should point backward. It should trail the object or be pushed out radially. But 3I Atlas has a distinct, stable jet of plasma, gas, and dust pointing toward the star. It is fighting the solar wind. And now, we look at R2 Swan. And what do we see? We see the exact same anomaly. In the last week, this second object has developed a sunward-facing jet. It has developed an anti-tail. Two objects, two different origins, both displaying a feature that is supposed to be rare, if not physically paradoxical, for a simple passive rock. And they are doing it simultaneously. But the similarities do not stop there. They share a color. Both objects are glowing with a distinct green hue. In standard astronomy, we attribute this to diatomic carbon burning in the ultraviolet light of the sun. It is a chemical reaction. But is it not interesting that both visitors, arriving at the same time, share the same chemical fingerprint? And then there is the timing. R2 Swan reached its perihelion, its closest approach to the sun, on September 12th. 3I Atlas reached its perihelion on October 29th. They both dove into the fire of our star within weeks of each other. They both energized, they both survived. And now, they are both moving out. This brings us to the most chilling realization of all, the geometry. If you look at a map of the solar system right now, you will see a formation that any military historian would recognize immediately. It is called a pincer maneuver. 3I Atlas is on one side of the Earth. R2 Swan is on the exact opposite side. They are flanking us. They are perfectly positioned on either wing of our planet. It is as if we are the target, and they are the spotters. Now my colleagues will say, Avi, this is just orbital mechanics. Things spin, things align, it is random. Is it? Both of these objects are flying remarkably close to the ecliptic plane. The ecliptic is the flat disk where the planets orbit. It is the highway of the solar system. Most comets from the Oort cloud drop in from high inclinations. They dive bomb us from above or below. But 3I Atlas is only 5 degrees off the ecliptic. R2. Swan is also hugging the plane. They are traveling in our lane. They are matching our level. And they are doing it on both sides of us simultaneously. If this were a military exercise, we would call this an encirclement. We would say that the enemy has taken control of the space on our flanks. And the terrifying truth is, if this is a strategy, we are helpless. We have no defense. We have no way to intercept them. We barely have the ability to see them. Consider the failure of our detection systems with R2 Swan. This object came within 0.5 astronomical units of the Sun. It flew right through the inner solar system. And do you know when we detected it? We detected it at its perihelion. We missed the entire approach. It zoomed in, it gathered its data, it set up its position, and we did not even know it was there until it was already turning the corner. We are building new telescopes. We are constructing the Vera Rubin Observatory. We are proud of our planetary defense systems. But the reality is, we are clueless. We are naked. An object the size of a city can enter our home, fly past our face, and we only notice it when it starts to leave. So, we have two objects. They look the same. They act the same. They defy the solar wind in the same way. And they are positioned perfectly to triangulate the Earth. The question we must ask is not, what are they made of? The question is, what are they doing? Some theories suggest these are not machines in the traditional sense. We have discussed the possibility of plasma bions, living configurations of ionized matter, sentience born from the energy of the cosmos itself. Perhaps they are not ships built of metal, but organisms built of light and magnetic fields. This would explain the jets. This would explain the interaction with the solar wind. If you have a conscious entity that creates its own magnetic environment, it can shape the plasma around it. It can direct a jet toward the sun to feed, or to break, or to communicate. It is not bound by the passive laws of a dead rock tumbling in the dark. Whether they are nuts and bolts probes from a civilization 1,000 light-years away, or interdimensional plasma entities grazing on our sun, the conclusion is the same. They are not rocks, and they are not acting randomly. We are seeing a coordinated event. The timeline supports it, the chemistry supports it, the geometry supports it, and yet, the scientific community is silent. They are writing their telegrams. They are debating dust grain sizes. They are ignoring the elephant in the room, or rather, the two elephants flanking the room. We need to look at the history of R2 Swan. We need to look at how it changed. Back in early November, the anti-tail was not there. It formed recently. Just as the pincer maneuver tightened, the propulsion turned on. Just as the Earth moved into the crosshairs of these two vectors, the objects began to maneuver. Is that nature, or is that a signal? We have reports from the astronomer's telegram, the rapid-fire notification system for the scientific elite, confirming these changes. They talk about geometric configurations and orbital velocity vectors. They use complex jargon to sterilize the wonder. They say the sunward tail is formed by large dust particles that are less affected by radiation pressure. But why now? Why both of them? And why does the dust form a focused beam rather than a diffuse cloud? The universe is a vast, dark forest. And for a long time, we thought we were the only hunters. But now, we are realizing that we might be the prey, or at the very least, we are the specimens being observed from two different angles. We must consider the possibility that the solar system is a strategic domain. If there are other civilizations, and statistically there must be, they would not ignore a star system with a habitable planet. They would map it. They would monitor it. And if they were advanced enough, they would send probes that look natural. They would send comets that follow the rules of gravity just enough to pass inspection, but break them just enough to complete their mission. We are watching a pincer maneuver in slow motion, and the only thing we are doing is arguing about the dust. Let us scrutinize the documents. In the scientific world, when a discovery is too urgent for a journal paper, it is published in something called the Astronomer's Telegram. It is a rapid-fire notification system, a digital shout across the void to alert the community that something is changing. And recently, the telegrams have been screaming. We have a report concerning Comet C 2025 R2 Swan. The subject line is dry, clinical. R2 Swan displays an anti-tail. But if you know how to read between the lines of academic caution, you can see the confusion. The report states that this long-period comet, which visits us only once every 784 years, has suddenly shown a significant increase in brightness. It mentions signs of fragmentation. But then it describes the anomaly, a sunward-pointing feature. The official explanation, the one they will put in the textbooks to keep you calm, is that this is a geometric illusion caused by large dust particles. They argue that these heavier grains of dust are less affected by the pressure of solar radiation. While the fine dust is blown backward by the solar wind to form the normal tail, these heavy stubborn particles remain left behind in the orbital plane. When the Earth crosses that plane, we see them line up, creating the visual effect of a spike pointing toward the sun. It is a convenient theory. It relies on a very specific geometry. It relies on the Earth, the comet, and the sun lining up in a perfect syzygy to create a trick of the light. But look at the dates. Look at the progression. On November 10th, the images showed a faint, barely visible suggestion of this sunward structure. By November 18th, just 8 days later, the feature had intensified dramatically. It became a distinct bright beam. Are we to believe that in the span of 1 week, the dust dynamics of a 700-year-old object radically shifted to produce a perfect laser-like structure pointing at our star? And are we to believe this is happening at the exact same moment that 3I Atlas, an object on the other side of the solar system, is displaying the exact same feature? This is where the dust hypothesis begins to choke on its own coincidences. We are seeing two objects, separated by the vastness of the solar system, behaving like twins. They are mimicking each other. Consider the physical properties. Both objects are glowing green. This specific emerald hue comes from diatomic carbon and cyanogen gas fluorescing under sunlight. It is a chemical fingerprint. It tells us they are made of similar stuff. Consider the orbits. R2 Swan has an orbital period of 784 years. It is a long-period visitor. 3I Atlas is an interstellar traveler, hyperbolic and unbound. They come from different homes. One is a local resident of the Oort cloud, perhaps. The other is a drifter from the stars. And yet, they have both chosen to dive into the inner solar system at the same time. They have both chosen to hug the ecliptic plane, the flat disk where Earth lives. 3I Atlas is inclined only 5 degrees from the ecliptic. R2 Swan is also skimming the plane. And now consider the K1 Atlas confusion. There is a third object, K1 Atlas, which people are mixing up with our interstellar visitor. K1 Atlas behaved like a normal comet. It broke up. It shattered into 4 distinct pieces. It died. That is what natural comets do when they get stressed. They crumble. But 3I Atlas and R2 Swan, they are not crumbling. They are changing. They are exhibiting what I call controlled evolution. They approach the sun. They heat up. They flare. And instead of disintegrating, they develop these sunward protrusions. They stabilize. If you were a pilot and you were flying a craft that used solar energy for propulsion, perhaps a plasma drive or a magnetic sail, you would deploy your collectors or your thrusters at the point of closest approach. You would use the maximum density of the solar wind to refuel or to brake. To a telescope on Earth, a deployed magnetic sail interacting with the solar wind looks exactly like a bright, chaotic coma. An exhaust plume firing toward the sun to counteract gravity looks exactly like an anti-tail. And this brings us to the plasma bion hypothesis. We must stop thinking of life as purely biological. We are obsessed with carbon, with water, with flesh and blood, but the universe is 99% plasma. It is ionized gas, organized by magnetic fields. Is it possible that what we are seeing are not ships made of metal, but entities made of energy? If a plasma life form, a bion, wanted to feed, where would it go? It would go to the star. It would dive into the corona. It would orient itself against the flow of the solar wind to drink the energy. The behavior we are witnessing, the green glow, the sunward jets, the resilience against the heat, fits the profile of an organism that thrives in high-energy environments. But whether they are biological plasma entities or technological probes constructed by a distant civilization, the strategic reality remains the same. They are performing a pincer maneuver. Let us look at the Sky Live data. Let us roll back the clock. R2 Swan was invisible to us until it hit its perihelion on September 12th. It sneaked in. It came within 0.5 astronomical units of the Sun, half the distance from Earth to the Sun, before we truly understood what it was. We were blind, and while we were scrambling to track R2 Swan on one side, 3I Atlas was making its approach on the other. Now, today, look at the map. Earth is in the center. To our left, broadly speaking, is R2 Swan. To our right is 3I Atlas. Both are moving away from the Sun. Both are sweeping out toward the edges of the system. In military terms, they have established space dominance. They have flanked the target. If there is a line of communication between them, it passes directly through the Earth. If there is a scanner sweep being conducted, we are caught in the crossfire of their sensors. The images from November 22nd, taken with 16 separate 30-second exposures, show R2 Swan looking nearly identical to 3I Atlas. The tails, the jets, the coma structure, it is like looking at a reflection in a mirror. Nature loves variety. Nature loves chaos. No two snowflakes are alike. No two comets should be identical, especially when they come from completely different origins. When you see two soldiers wearing the same uniform, carrying the same rifle, and walking in formation on either side of your house, you do not assume they are random hikers who just happen to buy the same clothes. You assume they are a unit. We are seeing a unit. And the scary part is the energy required to redirect. R2. Swan is on a long elliptical orbit. 3I Atlas is on a hyperbolic trajectory. To change these paths requires a tremendous amount of energy, but if they are capable of manipulating the solar wind, if they are using these anti-tails as propulsion, then they are not drifting. They are steering. We have reports, historical reports, ancient reports, of stars that move, stop, and change direction. We dismiss them as mythology. We dismiss them as atmospheric anomalies. But what if we are seeing the mechanism of that movement right now? What if the anti-tail is the engine, the timeline is accelerating? R2. Swan appeared. 3I Atlas appeared. They synchronized their perihelions. They synchronized their anti-tails. They synchronized their positions relative to Earth. The odds of this being a random gravitational ballet are vanishingly small. We are being observed from two angles. We are being measured, and the data is being beamed somewhere. The question is, who is listening and what happens when the pincer closes? We are living in an illusion of safety. We look at the map of the solar system and see an empty stage where dead rocks orbit in obedience to the blind laws of gravity. But what is happening right now destroys that illusion. We are standing in the center of a strategic formation. In military terminology, this is called a pincer maneuver. On one side of the Earth, we have 3I Atlas. On the other side, at a perfect distance, is Comet R2 Swan. They are moving in sync. They are changing in sync. They are simultaneously engaging their thrusters, or what we naively call anti-tails, to stabilize their trajectories relative to our star. If these were two battleships in the ocean flanking an island, no one would doubt their intent. But because this is happening in space, and our admirals are astronomers terrified of ridicule, we call it a coincidence. Let us talk about what this might actually be. In the scientific community, we are obsessed with biological life. We look for carbon. We look for water. We look for radio signals. We look for a reflection of ourselves. But the universe is not obligated to be a mirror of humanity. My colleague, geophysicist Stephen Burns, has raised a question that makes many scientists shift nervously in their seats. The plasma bion hypothesis. What if what we are seeing are not chips made of metal and bolts? What if it is life itself, but in a form we are barely capable of comprehending? 99% of the visible universe is plasma. It is ionized gas. It is electricity and magnetism. What if consciousness does not require neurons and flesh? What if it can exist in the complex magnetic structure of a plasma vortex? Look at the behavior of these objects. They dive into the sun's atmosphere. They absorb its energy. They glow green, as if charging. They shoot jets of plasma against the solar wind, as if navigating via magnetic fields. If these are living entities born in the stars, then our solar system is not an empty room to them. It is a dining hall, or perhaps a laboratory. But even if we discard the hypothesis of living plasma and return to the idea of technology, the conclusions remain terrifying. Look at the numbers. We are in the habitable zone. Around us are billions of stars, the Pleiades, Alpha Centauri, Sirius, countless red dwarfs. Every star has planets. Many planets have moons. It is statistically impossible that we are alone. It is arrogance of a cosmic scale to think we are the only intelligent observers in this theater. If a civilization is 1,000,000 years ahead of us, their technology will look to us like magic. Or, more likely, it will look like nature. They would not build the flying saucers we see in movies. They would manipulate space and time. They would use gravitational wells as slingshots. They would camouflage their probes as comets because it is the perfect disguise, and they would arrive in pairs or fleets to ensure full coverage of the target. And here we are. Earth is in the crosshairs. We missed the approach of Comet R2 Swan. We did not see it until it was almost at the sun, half an astronomical unit away. Imagine that. An object the size of a city flies into our inner system, passes us, takes up a position, and only then do we say, oh, look, a comet. Our planetary defense system is blind. We build massive telescopes to look into deep space, but we miss what is happening right under our noses. We are absolutely defenseless against a strategic intrusion, whether they are scout probes or simply curious tourists from another dimension. Yes, I said another dimension. Because when you see objects that violate the laws of inertia, that change trajectories without visible fuel expenditure, you must consider the possibility that they are moving not just through space, but through dimensions we cannot yet access. Perhaps they have been here the whole time. Perhaps they just decided to become visible now. The strategy is clear. 3I Atlas and R2 Swan are diverging to the edges of the system. They have completed their maneuver. They have gathered the data. They have scanned our radio frequencies. They have measured our reaction, or our lack thereof. Now they are leaving. They are heading back into the cold dark of interstellar space. But they will leave a mark. Not a physical mark, but a mark on our consciousness. We can no longer look at the sky with the same naivety. We cannot look at a comet's tail and be certain it is just dust. We cannot look at a random alignment and believe in probability. On the 19th of December, 2025, 3I Atlas will make its closest approach to Earth before vanishing forever. This is our last chance, the last chance to point our radars, our spectrometers, everything we have at it. If we do not do this, if we let fear and dogma close our eyes, we will commit a crime against science. We will miss first contact. Because, my friends, first contact is not a landing on the White House lawn. First contact is when you notice someone watching you through the window while you sleep. They looked at us. They studied us from two sides. They tested our awareness. And now they are sending the report home. The question is not if they will return. The question is who will come after them. And when they come, will we still be arguing about whether it is a comet? Or will we finally dare to admit that the universe is full of mind, and we are just the novices who have finally noticed the shadows of giants on our cave wall? Watch the sky. Ask questions. Do not trust the official silence. The truth is out there, and it is moving on a hyperbolic trajectory.